Natural persons with sentient beings are distinguished from artificial or juristic persons. Being entities legally vested in Zura or Munira by statutory or common law pledge. Legal personality, a jurisprudential construct, denote an entity possessing legally cognizable rights and concomitant obligations necessitating de jure exuntans. The Salmon articulation defines a legal person as a unit or entity aligned a human being investment with personality under the auspices of the legal framework. Categories of juristic person encompass corporations with other sole universal succession, example president and aggregate collegiate bodies or specific objective NGO and company. Further classification include institutional entity established under legislative enactment of university fund, state, asset managed for specific purpose, and other artificial construct. Fictitious personality recognized in Oakley's Lays paper companies. Characteristics of legal personality include perpetual succession, corporate sales, and capacity to sue and be sued, subject to procedural prerequisite, and the distinct judicial identity of the legal person vis-a-vis its constituent members. The jurisprudence concept of the corporate world postulated a separation of legal entity from its member, affording protection from personal liability, albeit subject to judicial pricing in instance of contravention of law. Liability and its legal connotation constitute the vinculum juris between the delinquent actor and remedial parameters consent dialect. It entails imposition of responsibility for act and omission. The former denoting prescribed action undertaken, the latter and failure to execute obligatory conduct. Primary liberty rests with the principal obligo directly responsible for their act and omission. The secondary liability is subsidiary upon the default of the primary obligor in the discharge of their obligation. Limited liability restricts the quantum of responsibility exemplified by member of legal firm or shareholder commencement with their investment. Other classification include joint liability, collective responsibility, separate liability, individual obligation, absolute liability, strict culpability, some exculpatory defense, urging and tort, hazardous industry, and representative liability, various responsibility for all of an agent. The nexus exists between legal personality and liability, wherein legal persons bear rights and duties rendering them liable for omission and the discharge of the latter, while simultaneously providing member a degree of protection via limited liability construct. Legal rights are stretched, recognized, and safeguarded by the prevailing legal order. Salmon division. Post legal rights are instituted, protect, and recognize jure. Gray articulation defined a legal right as a legally sanctioned power to bind another to an act or forbearance. Jurisprudence theory includes the dual theory, violation as the cardinal element, emphasizes the holder's intent, and interest theory, benefit as the central tenet, accompanying rights without the violation. Minor. Salmon five elements of right are inheritance, incidence or coercive duty, subject matter, and contact title. Categories of legal right encompass positive demanding action and negative demanding forbearance. Right, real, and rem against the word, and personal in personam against the specific individual rights. Perfect legally enforceable remedies exist and imperfect no legal remedy time bar debts. Rights. Property having economic value and personal lacking direct monetary value and reputation. Rights. Inheritable. Right are transferred to successor and inheritable are limited to holder's lifetime. Right in repropria over one's own property and rights in re alina over the property of another is meant. Principal independent and accessory dependent rights, public held against the state and private held against the individual right. Fundamental and constitutional rights vested, immediate and unconditional, and contingent dependent on future events legal recognized by law and equitable based on principle of equity and just a dream right to a thing possession not necessarily provided and just in re right in a thing possession provide certain mortgage rights. Legal duties. The legal duties constitute legally binding obligation. The breach whereon constitute a legal wrong. Gray perspective identifies the principal aim of law as a protection of individual through the creation of obligation to perform and abstain from specific action. Third definition include the element of state control and permission in the execution of vested obligation. Classification of legal duties include relative, correlative right action, and absolute no correlative right, and positive required action and negative required forbearance, and primary independent and secondary dependent on primary duty. Legal mandate by law and moral ethical obligation not legally codified. The legal right and duties are correlative, often existing in reciprocal relationship, although certain absolute duties may not have readily indefensible correctable rights. The rights of one judicial entity often constitute the duty of another, forming a legal